For anybody watching this video, I'm going to be um, giving you some information that, of course, a lot of journalists and the press who keep hiding and burying the story is telling me they don't want to publish because they're scared of being sued. Sued for defamation. I understand it, but that's what they're telling me. Are the facts of this case? It goes back more than 10 years. For those 10 years, I've been involved with the judicial process from here in the US all the way down to Jamaica and back and forth across 4 states with some of the most prejudicial and outright criminal acts being committed right there in the courts by judges, by the attorneys who seem to have some kind of relationship with these judges. I don't know how it was forged, how it's formed, how it's maintained, how it's supported. I have no evidence of anybody being paid, but certainly there is curry favor exempted to these attorneys by these judges, and it's not a figment of my imagination. The facts are there. That's one good thing about what I've done over the last 10 years. I've documented everything, meaning everything I'm saying to you is a part of the public records and official records within the courts itself, even the press, even online. I've been publishing and sending out information for the past 10 years. Each time I experience one of these actions by these judges, I've sent them out. But I think it's now important that I address the issue and not just leave it hanging, because that is possibly their greatest survival mode, to ignore um, things that they do to people and get away with it because nobody complains, nobody stands up and fights and reports it and get it out in the public. And those who do are often looked on as though there are some deviants and simply acting out of anger and despair, when in truth and in fact these are real victims. I'm a real victim, and when I appear in front of a court, I've taken the resolve that I'm not going to just sit there and accept the garbage, because I walk this planet not by favor of anybody, except God, of course, who has put me here for a reason. And that reason is to live the best life I can and make life as best I can for other persons to enjoy, to improve humanity, and so that we can grow and develop. And so I'm not going to be oppressed, suppressed, or depressed by these individuals because they keep stepping and infringing on one's natural rights as a human being, not one's freedom, whether it's political or other. But that natural right, you have a right to be here. You have a right to stand on this planet. You're not cutting on it. Nobody's giving you giving. I mean, we've been told that, oh yeah, yeah, like those persons work for you. They work for us. We pay them, and we pay dearly because of their mistakes. People have had to sacrifice their lives going to fight for freedom in order to be here, and it's definitely not going to happen while I'm here. And I'm going to be silent about it, because whether I'm successful at going through this or not, somebody else will take this that I'm going to be documenting and putting online what is going on, and that there are remedies that are there, simple remedies, simple fixes that can fix it. So I'm going to, first of all, make a disclaimer. And that disclaimer is simply that the vast majority of people who work within the sectors that we be exposing are honest, good, decent persons who have allowed themselves to become aligned with these corrupt criminals. I'm afraid to call them criminals because what they're doing, fraud is a crime. When you take people's lives and you mess it up and destroy them, it's a crime against humanity. So when judges put on the robe and get up there and sit as if all they are all is high and mighty and that they're above all and beyond all, it is this misnomer that I'm hoping to erase. I'll let people wake up and realize we need to stop. We need to stop paying accolades to people who are dirty and criminals who go up there and rob people, hurt people, destroy lives. You know how many lives these people destroy? And then we sit there and we go to dinners and we have them sitting on podiums and give them accolades and pretending, oh, these guys are clean. No. But when judges who are honest and decent and ethical and do their jobs with the greatest desire to achieve the objective of what, quote unquote, the judicial system is all about, delivering justice, fairness to all. When those judges sit there and allow other persons that they know, and I'm not saying they don't know, those judges know, they know who's in there doing all the dirty stuff. The statistics are there, the data is there. I mean, globally, it's said between 46 and 60 something percent of judges of the judicial system. The judicial system in Jamaica are corrupt. If you have 40%, even 20% of a group of persons who are supposed to be delivering justice being corrupt, then it's silly to think that these people don't have major impact on the whole process and on people's lives and ultimately on the country. Now we have courts and a judiciary for one reason and one reason only. And that was formulated so that there was a pretext that one will be getting justified resolution by an independent third party or parties. But instead, what we've had is that people have gotten into those possessions or positions, sorry, rather for economic reasons because they couldn't function elsewhere. And so they took an easy route to get a job, get paid, and fuck with people's lives. And frankly, I am at a point now in my life where there's no holding back. I'm going to tell it as it is. And if you don't want to listen and take heed, then guess what? When I'm dead and gone, you and your families generationally, will have to deal with the same dirty corruption that has been existing within our civilizations from the time when our history as Jamaicans began, presumably, from the time of slavery until now. And I am one of those people who don't bark as on slavery as a defense. Because frankly, I don't know how so many of our people sat there and allow people, because of their color, to tell them what they could and could not do. Frankly, we were born in a time when that could never work. I grew up in an era when we weren't rebellious, but we certainly stood up for our rights. And I think vast majority of people are willing to do that today. And there's one good spark about all that's happening globally is that there are people, whether they cross the color spectrum, who frankly don't believe in sitting around and allowing this nonsense to continue. And while they protest in the streets peacefully now, by large, there will come a time when, if this nonsense doesn't stop, that peaceful march is going to turn into violent rage and people are going to get hurt justifiably. And this nonsense about peaceful protest and being quiet and accepting this and then going through a judicial process that's largely corrupt and political with rules and laws that are designed to deny people their right and privileges as human beings, their right to exist. They actually designed rules as if this is some game so that they could undermine the very system that has been put in place. Now, in some instances, one would think it's worse than others. But I've been in the judicial, and I keep saying judicial process for more than 10 years. I've been there for many years, more than a whole bunch of you guys who call yourselves attorneys. And by and large, I've been successful. I've been able to maneuver to the point where, you know, they don't stick it to me because I am not going to allow it. And I'm not going to sit there and allow anybody to think they can simply look at me, whether because of my color, my race, my nationality, and figure they're just going to play around with the rules and their abusive authority and deny me my rights. Because guess what? I think most people forget that people don't settle matters until both parties decide it's done. The courts don't settle matters until both litigants decide it's done. The courts are there to mediate and to make everybody that appears in front of them feel comfortable with the ruling that this was done fairly and justly. And as long as it's not done fairly and justly, guess what? Somebody's going to be out there pissed and somebody's going to out there to take care of business if it's not done. And you just brazenly take people's rights and step on it. So guess what? I'm not the violent type. I'm not going out there to kill people because that's why I believe in a civil society. I'm just telling you that reality is arrogance of some of these individuals in denying people their rights will result in the anger of people who don't have time to contemplate civil society and they react. And reaction is violent in often cases and destroy entire nation. We live in Jamaica and all this murder and mayhem is going on, and we think we ignore it, shutting our eyes and say, "Oh, it's not me. It was a girl that lived down the road, girl that lived in the village, someplace. Oh, it's a bad area." But guess what? Those events will eventually touch you, will eventually undermine the society that you want to live in as a peaceful, law-abiding person if you don't stand up and do something about it. But this idea of just keeping your mouth shut and keeping it under the sun like a damn ostrich is not going to work. As I'm not going to be here forever. I might need to be here for too much longer, but guess what? I'm not going to sit around and make people think they can abuse me. Now, in saying that, I want to be fair because I have met some really, really fantastic persons that work within those systems. They're good, they're honest, they're decent. But when you look at the fact that they sit there and they know that this is going on, they have the reports, they see the complaints, and they sit there and really allow things to happen. Put it in the X files, sweep it under the rug, call it what you will. Then they become a part of the problem as well. You can't be swimming in shit and think you don't get smelly when you step out. Everybody's going to be looking at you and judge you as being a part of that system. And rightly so, because you, as part of the system, have the responsibility to make sure that people are protected from those scamsters and criminals who operate within the judicial process. undermine the very thing that they swore to protect people's rights, deliver justice. So guess what? I won't be ranting on and on about that because all of us know the garbage. All of us know about it. And those who pretend are definitely living in denial because they know the facts. So I'm going to be talking about a case that relates strictly to me, my business partners, the island of Jamaica, the country of the United States. And I'm going to be referring to actually cases and data that are verifiable factually. And I made sure that I didn't write them on some scrappy notes and stick them on a counter for somebody to come in and clean them out and burn them and destroy. There's no record. No, guess what? Everything I'm going to be saying to you, everything I've done over the last 10 years pertaining to this corruption and fraud, I have made sure I file it in the public records, the official records, about state, federal, and local agencies of the United States government. And that's for posterity. I also made sure I filed everything I filed and reference in those cases I filed in the official public records of the judiciary of Jamaica, the Supreme Court predominantly, and to a lesser extent the appeals court. So that nobody can claim what I'm saying is not true. Anybody that tells you these facts, you just go down to the court, demand the record. And if they tell you, oh, you can't get because you're not a part of this, call me, write to me. I'll write to you and give you permission to access those records or send them to you. Because my objective is I've already won because they can't defeat me. They haven't defeated me. But what about the persons who are to come? I want to make sure that, Jamaicans and people generally who have to come within reach of these people, when they get there, they're treated with the dignity and respect that they deserve and their rights are protected, which is what the courts are there to do. And so here I go, here I go, here I go. I want to first make a disclaimer for the good people, for the good people who work within the judiciary, law enforcement, within organizations that are established to protect civilized society and enhance civilized society. That's the ultimate. Nobody wants to live in a savage society where people are hacked down by machete wielding vigilantes or gun toting policemen or criminals or be ripped off of their hard earned earnings or money or their property by persons who simply refuse to honor and respect orderly society and the rules. Nobody wants to live there. That's why so many of us love living in the US under false pretenses because we pretend that the US is this country where justice is handed down, is given, is honored. It's not. And that's why we're having so many problems here now. US is one of the most politically volatile countries on the planet. And that tinder has been burning, or amber has been burning, slowly for 400 plus years. It's getting to a point now where people aren't willing to sit down and accept the nonsense. I'm hoping that even those racist persons will continue to proliferate hated agenda will wake up realizing that if I don't fix this or stop being so racist and trying to abuse people and pretending I'm there to represent and get in Congress and the Senate and chat all that shit and play people for fools, Now they will wake up and realize that guess what? Their ass is going to be on the burning stick if they don't fix it. And that their children and their families generationally could have the same effect or experience the same effect as people in Europe and Asia and Africa and South America who have been going through this for generations at the hands of those very people who often sit in Congress and pretend for whatever reason. And there's no justifiable reason. It can't be about money. Because if you really want to make money, you'd let the rest of the world grow, develop economically, because they'll have more to spend. It's about this game. And some of them, they're not even racist. They just play this game that they're going to step on people, put their knees on their necks, our necks, until we're dead. And then come with some long drawn out court drama and tribunals and appoint committees, the same old political strategy that's being used for generations in so-called banana republic. And then the comes of it are those people who have evidence suppressed, killed, disappeared. And then generations down the road, somebody comes, oh, so and so is saying this, here it is, da 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 da. And then we repeat the process. So that said, I'm going to be taking care of business. So again, the persons who are really there in these courtrooms, working with the judiciary, whether they're intake clerks, whether they're administrators, and who genuinely go there and do their job with honesty and integrity. Those persons